over the years, the Third Noble Truth became insightful, because like Anattá, there's these three characters of existence: impermanence, anicca, dukkha, suffering, and anatta, not self. And I could easily understand anicca and dukkha, or impermanence, that's quite obvious, and suffering. But anatta was, I still couldn't figure that out, because it always seemed to me that I was experiencing these insights as Sumedho, as this person, and I always traced I saw that I had this view that I am a separate person, which was trying to become enlightened and letting go, and that I had to get rid of these bad qualities, and this sense of I had to do this as a person. And where Luang Por Chah's teaching was this Buddho, this using the Buddha's name as a kind of mantra, where you're using Buddha, or the awakened consciousness, awakened conscious experience, which is not personal. And I found that very helpful, because before it was always me trying to let go and trying to understand suffering. And as long as I held to the view of being Sumedho, or Robert Jackman was my Christian name, and then that illusion of being this person who kept this separation, this illusion of being separate, where Buddha actually is, in the Theravada tradition, the Pali tradition, you take refuge in Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. So then Buddha, you're taking refuge in Buddha. And so I thought, am I taking refuge in somebody called Buddha? I still saw Buddha as a prophet, or a person, or a sage, or an enlightened master. And I still saw things like Buddha as something separate from myself, and Dhamma as something I've got to get. It's subtle, and you have to be pure to understand Dhamma. And then in the traditional forms, ceremonial forms in Thailand, for giving the refuges to Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha as part of a ceremony. And I started with Ajahn Chah's reference to Buddha. I started thinking, Buddha is not Sumedho, is not Robert Jackman, and it's here and now, and is conscious. So you start putting things together, realizing that you're not really Sumedho or Robert Jackman, but you're using this Buddha, this awakened conscious reality that is here and now, not something you get in the future. Suddenly it all begins to make sense, even logically, when you start realizing that Buddha is taking refuge in conscious awareness, mindfulness, here and now, which is mindfulness about now, not trying to become mindful tomorrow. Mindfulness is spontaneous. It's not something you create, something that's here and now, and then you create into consciousness thoughts and names like Ajahn Sumedho. I was given that name, but I create that into consciousness, and suddenly consciousness becomes more apparent as not just sensory consciousness, to seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking, but consciousness as a deathless reality of Dhamma itself, that we don't create. We don't create consciousness. It's not a cultural, personal, or even religious form that can be created. It's the kind of background of everything. And suddenly I started noticing the end of suffering. If I was conscious of when I just let go of everything, when there was no attachment as like this, there was silence. And I could put something into the silence, but I couldn't get beyond the silence. There's no way you can get beyond the silence through thinking or technique or anything, except just abide in the silence. So that was my insight into Nirodha, which led to, or the end of suffering, because the end of suffering is here and now. And then, so it's not something you achieve through meditation techniques and get hold of as a person. It's natural spontaneity of the awakened, enlightened mind that all human beings have. So that leads to right understanding. From then on, you know the path definitely is no longer just, I think I know the path, but you know for sure, you've seen the path, the silence itself. So after that, the rest of it, the rest of the Eightfold Path, the Fourth Noble Truth, follows in alignment with that right understanding. So then the monastic life began to really, I appreciated monastic life because automatically you have right understanding, right intention, then there's right speech, right action, right livelihood, and so your kind of lifestyle, like here at Amaravati, is just automatically right. We're not in the world where we have to cheat or deceive or steal or kill or anything like that. So the right action, right speech, right livelihood are kind of part of the form, and that leads to right effort, right concentration. So suddenly these Four Noble Truths, you have insight into them, and the insight into the Fourth Noble Truth should be developed. So in my life as a Buddhist monk, I've developed this silence, which I refer to as sound of silence. So that is, and it's not really a sound. But you can't get beyond it. I've tried, seeing if I can push beyond silence, and I can't. And it's just impossible. But I can put anything into the silence by thinking, doing something, being attached to views and opinions, and I can become righteous, become a righteous monk. They conceive of feeling better than other monks. You can put that into the silence, but then it just disappears, all your kind of conceits and arrogance and views and opinions, right or wrong, true or false, good or bad, disappear. They cease in silence. And then silence, the personality doesn't like silence. as a person, you get bored with it. You just want something, romance, adventure, excitement, stimulate the senses, eat something. You can see why people have addictions, because life is about being addicted to sensory conditions. It's very addictive. And where peace is for the personality, the conditioned personality is boring. And so my personality would get bored with it. But eventually I began to just realize that peace, sound of silence, is bliss. And it's the bliss, the luminosity, the ultimate reality that we all share as human beings, but we don't know it. We're so caught in our own personal bubbles that we can't see beyond it. And this particular teaching of the Buddha, this first sermon that he gave after enlightenment, was absolutely right on the mark. It's a perfect teaching. It's very simple, succinct, uncomplicated, but it's all about proving it rather than believing in Four Noble Truths or in Buddha or in something called Dhamma.